In trade wars, despite the rhetoric emanating from the upper echelons of the White House. It views the latest raising of U.S. tariffs to 25% on some $200 billion of annual Chinese imports earlier this month, together with Chinese retaliation on $60 billion worth of U.S. goods, as just the latest escalation that does not bode well for the global economy. Even the United Nations weighed in through its most recent World Economic Situation and Prospects report last week, where global growth was downgraded to 2.7% for 2019, down from 3% last year.
Even with these downward revisions, the risks are still on the downside. Escalating trade tensions, a sudden deterioration in financial conditions, or the accelerating effects of climate change all could trigger a sharper or more prolonged economic and growth slowdown, inflicting significant damage on development prospects.
With direct talks between Washington and Beijing suspended since earlier this May, all eyes will be on a meeting of the G20 in Osaka, Japan at the end of June, where Presidents Xi Jinping and Trump are set to meet.
I remain hopeful that at some point we'll probably get together with China. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And I look forward, I'll be seeing President Xi at the G20 very shortly. Many of you are going to be there. Many of the media present, you'll be at the meeting. And we look forward to that. But in the meantime, and maybe for a long time, I appreciate the incredible bipartisan support that my administration has had on trade and trade policy, especially as it pertains to placing very massive tariffs on China. And just so you understand, these tariffs are paid for largely by China.
Not so, says the IMF, arguing rather that consumers in the United States and China are unequivocally the losers from trade tensions. In fact, President Trump made that statement surrounded by some of the country's farmers at the White House, where he announced a $16 billion aid package intended to offset the effects of the trade war on those very farmers.
So today I'm announcing that I have directed Secretary Perdue to provide $16 billion in assistance to America's farmers and ranchers. It all comes from China. We'll be taking in, over a period of time, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs and charges to China. And our farmers will be greatly helped.
The analysis beyond just the impact on Chinese and US consumers is that this trade war could spread well beyond just those two countries. The IMF blog note goes on to say that the higher trade barriers would disrupt global supply chains and slow the spread of new technologies, ultimately lowering global productivity and welfare. All in all, why 2019 should be viewed as a delicate year for the global economy. Sherman Briceby's SABC News, New York.